I'm going to start with the regular meeting of the Seminole City Council. We're going to have some action, and then we're going to recess from it and then start with our normal session that we would. So with that, Jay, roll call for the Seminole City Council.
Tim Poplin.
Here.
Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Larry Church. Trace Connor.
Here.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Eddie Foreman.
Here.
Dana Miller.
Here.
John Kramer. Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
With that, I'm going to go into mayor remarks first. After that, we will take a vote on what I'm going to be talking about, then we'll recess and, like I said, then move forward like we normally would. During some checking on some information, and with COVID and other things that have happened, we found that our council member, Larry Church, had not completed the training that's required by state law. There's a requirement that you finish your training as someone that's serving on a municipality within 1 year from the time that you were sworn in. So with that, Larry and I talked today, so he gave me his resignation. That's something that we will need to vote on. And I told Larry that once he completed the training, I would be nominating him to fulfill the remaining time of his seat after he completes that. So he was in agreement with that as well. You know, when he completes it, we'll come back to the council, and it will be obviously up to a vote for them. So with that, I would need a motion to accept the resignation of Larry Church.
So moved.
Roll,
We probably don't need to take a vote on it because we don't have an agenda item. We'll just have
Okay.
to take it up at the next meeting.
Okay.
By then, he'll probably have his training done.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. All right, so that helps everyone understand why Larry's not going to be here tonight. With that, then I would entertain a motion to recess the regular meeting of the Seminole City Council.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, or all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Like sign. All right, with that, we will move on to the regular meeting of the Seminole Airport Authority. Roll call, please, Jay.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Trace Connor.
Here.
Tim Poplin.
Here.
Eddie Foreman.
Here.
John Kramer. Corey Crabtree.
Here.
Dana Miller.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move its approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Airport Authority? Okay, with none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, moving on to Seminole Utilities Authority. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, utilities or gas authority?
Yes.
Well, let's see, I may have skipped a page here. There is a ball game on, you know. Sorry, Seminole Gas Authority.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
John Kramer. Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Gas Authority? With none, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. All right. Now, we will go into our regular meeting of the Seminole Utilities Authority. Roll call, please.
John Kramer. Trace Connor.
Here.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Dana Miller.
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Andy Foreman,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dana Miller,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Andy Foreman,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Utilities Authority? With none and no approvals and acceptances, then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we will reconvene the Seminole City Council. Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Corey Crabtree,
Here.
Trace Connor,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Andy Foreman,
Here.
Dana Miller,
Here.
John Kramer, Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Corey, would you lead our prayer, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for tonight. Thank you, Lord, for this meeting. God, I ask that you would bless everyone that's here. I would also ask that you bless our discussions and our decisions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. That will lead us into our presentations. We have the Roger E. Parks Heart and Stroke Foundation is going to present a donation for 2 cardiac monitors for use by the City of Seminole Ambulance Service.
We use these, this is our LifePak 15, it's what we get in our ambulances. We needed 2 more, because we stay pretty busy, so, what they can do is they can defibrillate your heart if you're having a heart attack. They can take your regular vital signs, blood pressure, we can see our oxygen levels in them. We can even monitor your CO levels. But one of the important things they can do is if you're having a heart attack, we can do a 12-lead picture of your heart, which is the view of your heart. We can see if you're having an acute myocardial infarction. So when we see that, we can send it to the doctor, ER, or in any, excuse me, any hospital in the city. And when you're having a heart attack, time is very valuable because it's muscle dying. So, so this is a very, probably, I would say probably one of the most important pieces of equipment here is Seminole Fire Department. This is one of the new ones they donated, and we just bought, and the other one's actually being used right now on a call, so. So we're on a pretty big call right now, so. But we're very, very, very grateful for it, and we have a plaque here to present the family, so.
Great.
this-
Great,
Yeah.
please.
Get some pictures of this.
Can we try it out, make sure it works before we pay for it? We got some volunteers over here.
It goes up to 360.
Hey,
Yeah. They'll
Carter
fix-
has infarctions all the time. In what?
Well, I personally want to thank, I want to thank the Parks Foundation for their care for our community and our citizens. And, you know, it's really appreciated. I hope it's not used very often, but I'm sure it will be. You know, we don't know how many lives will be saved from that. So thank you very much.
Very much appreciated, thank you.
All right, we will move on to remarks and inquiries of mayor and council members. So with that, I'll go to Ward 1, Dana Miller.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. And I too want to thank the Parks Family Heart and Stroke Foundation for the donation. I saw on the check, the big check, was it 41,000? So this is my first time working with city budgets, and I was taken aback about how hard it is to even scrounge around for a dollar to find the need, to serve the needs of our people. So when I see that check for $41,000, that's amazing. That's really tough to come by, and I just want to thank you for that. That really is going to make a big difference, and I just want to thank you. Okay, so my report is, let's see, I'm going to go over events that happened since the last council meeting. On May 15th, there was a downtown benefit car show. The proceeds from that event went to benefit the downtown committee, who is working to upgrade and revitalize and beautify the downtown area. And from what I understand, it was a very successful event. On May 20th, there was a downtown improvement meeting that Larry and I attended, and we were able to hear directly from the downtown business district folks about their concerns and needs for the downtown area. I believe Steve was there also and did a great presentation as well. On May 20th, I attended the grand opening of Elite Cannabis in the downtown area, so I want to thank those business owners for inviting us to that opening. On May 18th and the 26th, I attended again those budget meetings, and you know, like I just said, kudos to anyone who has ever served on the city council, to the current city council, especially to Mayor Griffin and to Steve and Jay and everybody who's working behind the scenes to make sure that, one, those numbers add up, because I know that's tough, and then two, to make those really tough decisions on prioritizing the needs versus the resources, because it's nearly an impossible task. So I just want to recognize everybody for that. Those discussions were interesting and fun and hard, and I just appreciate the opportunity, so thank you. Upcoming events on June 12th, we're having a Chase Park revitalization meeting, and we're going to discuss the needed improvements of the park. The public is welcome to attend. Someone has, a business owner has donated food, so hot dogs and chips and Cokes, and we're going to have a cookout, and we're all just going to sit around and basically talk about what we want to see as far as Chase Park improvement. If you don't know where Chase Park is, it's the park kind of behind Sonic, in front of, I guess, the old high school, so kind of somewhere in between there. It's going to be, again, it's just, we're going to bring up some folding chairs and just sit down and kind of hash out what we want those improvements to be and talk about fundraising as well. The public is invited. I want to personally invite Mayor Griffin and all of my fellow council members to attend as well. Come and have a hot dog, sit down with us, and again, this isn't just for Ward 1. This is a city park, so I would like to invite everyone to attend. On July 9th and 10th, there's the City Arts Council is having an art walk and barbecue cook-off, so just want to make you aware of that. Now on to the constituent issues and concerns. One thing I want to do is and Mayor, I talked to you a little bit about this before, but I want to make sure that we have an update or a follow-up on the cannabis event discussion that we had last council meeting about kind of, I believe we talked about we were going to establish a work group. So I haven't heard anything since our last meeting, so I'm sure there's an update from you about that. And then, so kind of in relation to that, I received a constituent issue, and again, I've spoken to the mayor and to the city manager about this. There's an event coming up at the golf course. It's a golf tournament, and it's advertising, and the concern is from the constituent that there is they've advertised that they're going to be selling alcohol at that event. They're on the golf course, and the feeling is, or at least the optic, is that it is a direct contradiction to the decision and concerns about a similar event with cannabis, so alcohol and cannabis. And I believe we had this similar discussion, again, last council meeting. So I'm seeking further clarification, as was asked during the last month's meeting, and specifically the process of who is in charge of declining or allowing these type of events, and is it possible to have a council consultation when we kind of deal with these type of decisions that do impact the leader, well, not actually the leadership, the servants of the city, and how we are able to answer and respond to those constituent issues. My next one is the downtown businesses cleaning. They've been doing a great job. I've just been seeing some posts on Facebook about how they're doing the business owners are going out and cleaning up the flower beds. They're painting parking lines, and they're still seeking volunteers to continue cleanup. So again, I'd like to invite, I've volunteered. I haven't gotten an assignment yet, but I'm waiting for it. But I'd also, again, like to invite my fellow council members to volunteer, if that's possible, for the downtown cleanup efforts. Another constituent issue that I received was in the downtown district. I received an email that strongly, and this is the term they use, was strongly encourages the city to accept the offer from OG&E to install, I guess that's 30-foot LED lights in downtown, and that would be from the library all the way down to Don Ciros. OG&E has said they will install these in less than 45 days, and it was noted that this is needed to address the thefts and vandalism in the area. And then finally, on the note of lights, and I'm not sure who this goes out to, Steve. I probably should have reached out to you before this, but again, thinking about Chase Park, there's no lights on out there at night. It is completely pitch black when you drive through there, but there's quite a few light poles, and so I'm just wanting to know the status on those lights. Are they just not on for what reason? If we could look into that, I'd appreciate it. And that's all I have for my report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ward 2, Eddie Foreman.
Well, other than my personal thanks to the Parks family, that's an awful great donation. Other than that, I don't have anything there.
Okay, thank you. Ward 3, Tim Poplin.
Pretty much been said, Parks, ever since y'all come to the city, has been a great asset, and thank you. Continuing on, and you're just carrying the legacy of the family, and the city appreciates it. Thank you, guys and ladies.
Ward 3, Corey Crabtree.
Thank you to the Parks family as well. Couple other things, lemonade stands for a fat kid. This was a good weekend. I think there was 5 or 6 in our particular neighborhood, in our ward. So I have to admit that we tried all of them, but they were good. I had my personal favorite, but they were all pretty cool. That was a good idea. So I think that was Bree's idea, but the kids were having a blast. I mean, one of the kids in our neighborhood actually, her mom came to our house and said she made $80, and I said, on 50-cent lemonade. Wow. So if you divide that out, now I don't know what she got in tips, but if you divide that out, I mean, what is that, 160 people that came to a lemonade stand, so that's pretty cool. So, but then lastly, I'm not a fisherman, I don't camp very much. I'm fixing to have to start apparently because I went out to Sportsman's Lake this weekend, and I was baffled at how many people were camping out there. There was one spot that I didn't even realize there were camping spots there. And when I got there, they were so full of campers, I don't know how they would all get out of there. I mean, it was crazy, but it was really cool. And then we stopped and talked to Robbie for a little bit, but he is definitely keeping up with the mowing and the trash and the condition of the lake out there. So if you guys see him, tell him thank you, but it looked great. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ward 4, Chris Hansen.
Well, I would, going back to the golf course issue, I remember back when we allowed serving, and I'm pretty sure it was just beer on the golf course, and at that time there was a separation between beer and alcohol in Oklahoma. And I think since Oklahoma went to 6 Point, those lines have been blurred somewhat. But the other thing that we did when we allowed beer on the golf course, I don't know if it made it into any ordinance or into the contract, but it was designed so that just the golf course was allowed to distribute it. So they could control and kind of monitor whether somebody was taking in too much. Now, what's changed since then, I don't know. People could be abusing the policy, just like they could be smoking on the golf course and they're not supposed to. You know, that, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those deals that, you know, used to say when we were young, it's not illegal if you don't get caught, which is, not true. The second thing is I do want to clarify, I was not, 2 months ago when I was here, I was not attacking medical marijuana. I was attacking the use of marijuana in a way that makes it look recreational. It's not recreational, and no, I don't want children thinking it's recreational in Oklahoma because it's not. I don't want adults thinking it's recreational in Oklahoma because it's not. But that's as far as it goes. I was attacking no one for their use of it. I don't have a problem with that. I've seen people suffer, and if that's the only relief they can get, I am perfectly fine with that. But in no way was that meant to attack anyone other than someone who uses it as recreational in Oklahoma when it's not. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ward 4, Trace Connor.
I've been told today's National Best Friends Day, so if you got a best friend, it'd be a good day to call them and give them a hug or do something about that. I as well went and tried some of the lemonade stands, and they were fantastic. I did give a few tips. Some were more expensive than others, but they were very well worth it. And I believe the rains may be coming to an end, so maybe we can all start mowing our grass. I know maybe tall weeds and those. But anyway, that's about all I've got.
Okay, thank you. One, I want to address one of the questions you had, Dana, about the cannabis and insurance. One of the things I'm still waiting on is for our insurance company to get back to us and, to determine that. And so until then, it's kind of, I'm not sure which direction to head yet. So as soon as we get that information, we'll be moving forward with it. One of the things I wanted to mention, and it's been in the paper, and I would encourage you to go look for more information, but there is a fire tax vote that will be coming up before too long. I'm not sure if our city manager will be discussing that this month or at some other period of time, but with the way it's proposed, the fire department in Seminole will lose roughly $86,000 that they are receiving currently for the year. We've gone through budgets, that's a hard pill to swallow if that goes through. So I would encourage you to call your county commissioners, let them know your feelings, because, if you just look at the numbers, we run more runs than any other ambulance services in the county. But yet, we're going to be receiving the same amount as 2 other ambulance services in the county. I'm not sure how the numbers are added up, but that doesn't quite seem right. And if we're expected to provide the service that we all want and desire, even those that are outside of the city limits, we really need that funding. So I would encourage you to make a phone call to your county commissioner, urge your friends to make a phone call to their county commissioner. And that's really all I have, so we will move on with the rest of our business. Okay. Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move to approval.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
John Kramer. Sorry. Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole City Council? If so, I would like to remind you to state your name and your address or business, and please hold your remarks to 5 minutes or less.
Amy Britt with the Seminole Chamber of Commerce, and my notes are just on one little Post-it, so I take 5 minutes,
Talk fast.
I need to be out. Okay, we just have some reminders, and I was gonna say one of them during the Airport Authority, there, Okay, we're doing a bunch of things. So tomorrow, from 8:30 to 10:30, there's a meet and greet. Saffron has a new general manager, and so we'd like for everybody to come out, you know, throughout that time, 8:30 to 10:30, and introduce yourselves. So if anybody from the community would like to come, again, Saffron is the old Enviro, so we'd love for you to come out to that. Then on Thursday, forum is at noon at the Haney Center. And then a week from Thursday, Air Evac, who is our medical flight people now, they have done their new facility out at the airport, and they are doing their ribbon cutting, and that is at 11 a.m. on the 17th. The most important one to me is Independence Celebration. It will be on Saturday, July the 3rd, from 5 to 10. We are doing it in the downtown district. Fireworks will still be at the park. They will start at 9:45. So between 5 and 9:45, come down, we'll have inflatables and food and bands and all the fun stuff, and then the rest is out at the park at 9:45. So we hope you guys can join us.
Is that on Main Street or where are you talking?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other?
Sorry, y'all, mine's not on the phone. I just have a course packet printed out. I brought you guys, you guys have a little bit extra just because it's some of the stuff that was brought last time. Don't feel like you have to look at it right now. It's literally just to give you guys information. And the rest of you guys.
Thank you.
And I apologize about how I sound.
Thank you.
I had severe oral surgery on my nostrils and my mouth. Here's the new stuff I've already. And then, of course. Do you care if I stand right here since there's no mic?
They can't hear you. Oh, there's not a mic there
There's
now?
not a mic there. So
Oh.
I was gonna-
Yeah, if you'll turn that, yes,
down.
please.
Because I'm already hard to hear. Anywho, my name is Stephanie Davis, and I live at 431 North University Street here in Seminole. And I wanted to first start out by saying thank you to code enforcement for posting that abatement at 433 North University. It was posted on 5/21, and the property owner came to mow it by 5/29, I believe. So I just wanted to, again, encourage you guys. I know budgets are tough, but like code enforcement's a really important job. And from everything that I've gathered from them, they get very, very, very little money to work with. And of course, the citizens of Seminole can only do so much as well to help them. But just wanted to give them kudos and let y'all know that them doing their job does work. And they didn't even have to spend the $300 abatement. They literally just had to post a notice. So you guys have witnessed 2 years now, most of you were here, the original discussion of this. So please keep that in mind. However, there has been a growing pattern of unresponsiveness by city employees to emails and other requests at City Hall. And I'm just wondering if it would be possible for the city council to urge their city employees to respond to the citizens of Seminole. And of course, some of you have just very few emails of some of the unresponsive emails that we've sent that we can't get answers to, unfortunately. And in fact, one of the things is a PowerPoint that I was really gonna talk to you guys about tonight, that I was promised I would get within 10 days, which that was 4 days ago. I did follow up, again, no response from your city employees. So, and this was one that was going to talk about how, at the downtown district, Steve presented a PowerPoint about our budget, right? And said, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the PowerPoint, unfortunately, but our total budget was somewhere in the ballpark of 1.5-ish. Y'all obviously know better than we do. And then whenever I asked about if that included sales tax and COVID money, he said, oh yeah, totally includes it. And then he went back to show me, and $1.2 million was missing from this PowerPoint. It was called an oversight, but for me, from my perspective and the optics that it brings as a citizen, for him to forget something that almost doubles our budget is very scary as far as how is our money being managed, how transparent are things at the city hall level. And so I just want you guys to keep that in mind. And if the answer to their unresponsiveness is they're just too busy and they have other citizens, well, just know that they spend a lot of time on Facebook laughing at their coworkers for not getting gift baskets. And I think maybe that time could be spent answering emails instead of talking about, trips they're planning on taking. So keep that in mind as well. Also, additionally, there have been ongoing personnel issues and failures by our city manager. And yes, I know Oklahoma statute protects that information from being public, but a true and transparent leader wouldn't have to hide behind state statutes when it comes to employing sexual predators, pedophiles, and homophobes in the city of Seminole within the authoritative roles in our city ranks at that. The citizens of our city found out about these items through news sources that sweep throughout Oklahoma and some of the nation, instead of hearing about it from our very own city. These kinds of things happen, right? But instead of sweeping them under the rug and giving bad optics, why are we not talking about how we can prevent this in the future and how we can make sure that all of our citizens are protected from pedophiles that work in our street department or sexual predators that work in our police department or the severe homophobic rants that we get from an ex-police chief? Like, why did we have to find this out from OKC News? Like, that is very disturbing. And so to ask us to continue to put our faith in that
Ms.
sort of
Davis,
leadership.
your time's up.
Okay, is hurtful, and I really hate to be the one standing here, but I hope you guys listen to these hard facts tonight. And thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate your remarks earlier, sir.
Thank you. Do we have any others for the city council? Okay.
Mayor, can I address some of those questions?
Not right now. No, we're moving on with our. Move on to public hearing. A hearing open to the public and conducted by the mayor regarding the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget for the city of Seminole and its associated authorities and funds. With that, even though I'm hosting it, I will turn that over to Steve and Jay.
All right. We're going to start this off by giving Jay the proper accolades for everything that he does with regard to the budget. He's the hero. He's the one that makes sure that all the numbers add up, right? So I just want to thank you, personal note. Thank you. I'm going to be going off my markup, so Jay, you're going to have to catch me if I mess things up. We will go as deep as you want to go into the budget. Right now, I'm just going to cover the summary, and then if you want to get into anything regarding a specific department, we can do that. And then I'll close by talking about the capital improvements budget, what we call the capital improvements budget. That is in essence what money is available, I would call it discretionary money that is available to the city council for allocation, and then we'll point out specifically what you all are directing us to allocate those monies to. So I'll turn your attention to the budget summary real quick. And we'll go into general fund, our Fund 11, and you'll note that this year we've got a total expected revenue of $12,467,096 and total appropriations of $12,291,314. That brings us with an excess of $175,782. And our beginning fund balance was $1,148,994. So our ending fund balance in the general fund will be $1,324,776. Let's go on to something of substance, water and sewer fund number 22. So If you look there, our total revenues are expected to be $9,806,984, and our total appropriations are expected to be $9,798,515. Our ending fund balance should be $4,247,020. So, I guess the overall message, without carrying it much further, is that Seminole is very healthy, okay? We are in really, really good shape, and a lot of that credit goes to you all, both new and old members, and the way that we're approaching improving our community. It's not bad. It is not a bad community. We are, in fact, in my opinion, fantastic. So, things are moving very well. Our crews, for the most part, have a high morale, regardless of the personal attacks that are going on. I think we continue to see them proceed and be positive in trying to impact the lives of our citizens. We continue to see good budget numbers. We had, as you can imagine, the craziest year on record with the pandemic. We really did not know what we were facing. You guys recall a lot of the city council members were, all of us were apprehensive. We really did not know, nor did any other community in the United States or the world know what we were about to face. So overall, I am thrilled with the way that we came through this financially. We lost a lot of good people along the way, and our hearts go out to their families. But from a financial standpoint, a budget standpoint, we did very, very well. So you're probably going to ask, what caused that? Nobody knows. It's very, very difficult to track through the Oklahoma Tax Commission. But I would tell you, my opinion is that people didn't have a lot of options. They were not going to go to Bricktown and spend a weekend. They preferred to stay at home, and that's what happens when you shop locally. Is the budgets get better, the money for the parks, the money to do improvements in your community get a lot better, and it makes our community much more healthy. So I'd love to go in. I don't want to spend 6 hours if you guys don't want to, but Jay and I kind of get off on this stuff. So if you want to go into the individual summaries of water sewer fund, the general fund, et cetera, we welcome that. If not, I'm just going to point out some highlights, Mayor.
That's fine.
All right. So, I will point to, on the second page, which is the general fund summary, if you go into code enforcement, item 56, you will see, fund 56, so we're looking at the estimated 2021 budget of $66,145. You'll notice that budget has increased significantly to $125,161. And that is specifically when you guys allowed us to add a code enforcement officer to help. And I'm proud to say, and I think we demonstrated last time with our PowerPoint, that is having a very positive effect on code enforcement, and we're thrilled with the work that's being done over there.
Steve, you said what number? I lost you on the page that I'm on. 56 is animal control on the top of our page.
I'm on my mark.
Departments, it's a department.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Did I?
It's department 56.
Okay. It's on the second page. You see 56 there?
56 does say animal control, but it is code enforcement.
Yeah, code enforcement is 56,
Okay.
right? Are you tracking? Okay.
I just wanted to make sure your title and your number didn't match.
I got you off. So you want me to repeat that?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. that is just the allocation that we've made for the extra code enforcement officer. We do believe that it's having a positive impact, so.
It's still, that number's not showing on this page that you said.
I'm looking at this.
Tim, do you have your sheet you could show him?
Huh?
You have your sheet? Oh, you don't have it?
I give it to him.
Oh.
Mine's in it.
It's under, okay, general fund, are you on the fund summary, Mayor?
No, he told us on the second page,
Okay, the fund
number
summary.
56.
Okay. And then,
That's the only paper you gave me. I don't think we were right.
Oh, this is
Right.
this is on your budget that was sent.
Okay, so all he gave us was this, so we can't
okay.
follow along.
no, he said, yeah.
I can pull it up on my phone, but I just wanted to make sure that if everybody was looking at this sheet, if they had it, they wouldn't be able to follow along. I just want to make sure if everyone has a sheet, they're not going to be able to follow along
No,
either.
it's on the budgets,
Oh.
yeah, right, the detailed budget.
So, okay, I'm gonna try to stay with what you guys see in your hands physically. I will tell you off of this sheet that we do have in there additional monies already allocated and were allocated last session. All right.
You gotta-
Monies of both.
there you go.
One for
Now we can hear you.
broadcast and one for indoors.
All right.
So, we do have an extra position for code enforcement, and I think we are having a positive impact. So let me go, you know what, let's talk about the wellness center real quick. I think we need to make a note of where we're at. The wellness center, of course, in the COVID-19 situation, took a big hit. It looks like we've had a deficiency this year of $81,000, and the accumulation since they've opened is a negative $270,000. Now, we often talk about making the allocation out of the ending pot of money, what we call the capital improvements money. So in this year's budget going forward, we're making a $40,000 allocation to ensure that any shortfalls they might have are taken. So, but that ending fund balance of negative 270 is a accumulation since they've opened. So what it was in 2008, somewhere in there. So since 2008, 13, 14 years ago, overall, they've lost 270. Now, Matt would really be upset with me if I did not point out that last year, they actually made money. So, the prospect is there. It's not like it's an every year thing. Sometimes they do really well if the rentals are up, if people are using the facility more, if we get more memberships, obviously the revenue gets better. All right. I think it's probably as deep as I can go. So, I think perhaps you might want to be able to talk about the Urban Renewal Authority. So, one of the things that we're going to talk about in just a minute about the new allocation, the Urban Renewal Authority historically has been the vehicle that the city council allocates money to do structure demolitions. So this year, you guys, if you vote you are sending $40,000 to code enforcement to do fall weeds and grass abatement and other things. So, now, that's not to say they may not do a garage or something minor, demolition out of that 40,000. But the principal goal is to get Seminole sparkling. And this is by far the best allocation that the city council has ever made toward that effort. So 140,000 total will be going to clean up the community. 100 of that will be going to the urban renewal authority. And that's on the second or third page of what you did. Okay, so, I see some new faces, and you guys probably did not know that we had a gas authority or don't really know what that entails. The gas authority is actually, we are a part owner in the facility that sits behind Bar S Foods. We sell gas to Bar S, and we keep a portion of the proceeds that come from the sale of that gas, and that's what that balance is. The ending fund balance this year is projected to be $86,000, $86,676. So I think we're in really good shape there. Okay, so that's about it for what you have in your hand. If you want to drill any deeper on some of the stuff that was emailed to you, the full detailed personnel, things like that, we can talk a little bit more. Otherwise, I'm going to move into CIP allocations.
The one thing I would like to just remind everybody in the audience and on watching on whatever we're on YouTube or wherever it's being broadcast, Facebook, that all of the council members have gone through this budget before. They're not just seeing it for the first time tonight. So, you know, really what Steve's hitting is kind of the highlights for the public to hear, because pretty much everyone up here has already gone through that and had discussions on it. So if it seems like, well, he's not really talking about a lot and they're not saying much, it's because they've already been through it and have talked about it. Yes, so I just want to kind of clarify that they're not just here listening and
Could I just say,
You can.
that doesn't happen all together. They
That's
don't
correct.
meet all
That's correct.
together, Okay?
That's
This is,
correct.
breakout sessions,
Mhm.
that they do work sessions.
Yep.
Like every other community that I'm aware of, they have breakout sessions, and we talk a lot more in depth
Mhm.
about expenditures, why is this up, why is this down? And then we finally get it into something that we can package, and Jay spit something out that we understand. So,
Right. So maybe I'll ask this question, not necessarily for the council's benefit, but for others. So what's your starting point on how much you can spend going into a budgeting cycle? Is it based on your last year? So kind of share that a little bit, how you go into.
So the state law says that you cannot budget to spend more than you earned in revenue the previous year. So we do some projections, and that's why in your budget, we kind of go through some of the actual versus anticipated or estimated expenditures. So we are limited. So when we look at the last year's ending fund balance versus what we project, and never more than 100% of what we brought in revenue the year before, then we have a pretty good idea of what we will be able to do. Always in the back of our mind is the auditor who will probably be here in August or September and standing up there and saying, you guys need more reserves than you've had in the past. Now, last year, and maybe the year before, he did not say that. He said, yeah, well, in accounting jargon, that means good job, okay? Right?
That's right, yep.
Okay, somebody back me up.
Mhm.
So, really disastrous happens, I think you guys have got some cushion there to be able to do some things. One thing that is coming, I know this is getting a little bit off topic, but a lot of the relief money that is being allocated at the federal level, and they're even telling us before we even have the money, this needs to go out quickly. So there are no guidelines to how that money is spent. They're telling us verbally that it needs to be water, sewer, or fiber optics, but we don't have any guidelines. So we're going to be very, very cautious in the way, not slow, but specific about how we're going to spend the ARPA money, American Relief Act money. So those are in addition to what monies we're earning through the revenue streams that are customary. So I'm really happy with the budget. And again, Jay did a fantastic job, but it really points to our employees and the way that they go about their business and the way they seek perfection. So along those lines, we have built into the budget at your direction a 5% increase across the board for each department. My understanding of how I'm to dispense that money is that 3% of that raise, or the 3% of the 3 of the 5% will be going toward an across-the-board cost of living raise. 2% of that will go into a by department, a merit raise pot. The department head and I will evaluate those employees that have done over and above and exceptional jobs, even more so than some of the others that, in my opinion, they've all done extremely well. But there are some that we consider key employees that we just, it would really be a hardship upon us if we were to lose them. So that 2% will be going to the department heads for us to look over and see how we want to get merit raises. So we can, if you want me to go into the capital improvements, we can, and then if you want to back up and get into some specific departments, we certainly can. So overall, and part of this, understand part of this is going to be relief money that we've been told that we're getting. We won't actually make any of the expenditures that deal with the relief money until we have money in the bank. I've tried to talk Jay into letting me spend it before it gets here, but he's really, really stingy with money, and that's a good thing. All right, so in the police department, we are going to have, we're going to purchase $20,000 worth of cameras. We're going to get one new police car, or Tahoe, whichever the chief and I can agree on. And we are also beefing up our police force. We are adding a detective and a patrol officer. So I think this really speaks to the council's vision for we're going to get some things straightened out in terms of law enforcement. So in the fire department, we are going to do $89,000 toward bunker gear. The bunker gear that they have currently is expiring and needs to be replaced. We don't want them out there in expired bunker gear running into fires. It's just not something we're going to do. We are going to be doing a EMS consultant for the potential of creating a 522 district. If you're not familiar with the 522, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but a 522 district is a state law that allows ambulance services to be run countywide. Okay? Many counties already have this in place, but this is something that the county commissioners have spoken before. I visited with Fielding. Fielding came back and said, you know what, we kind of need to be ahead of this. And the guru of 522 districts, we can hire them for a consulting fee. So that's $6,000. So in community development, we've allocated $66,000. This number came to us from OG&E. This is, I don't know, about a fifth of the cost that we got before for downtown lighting fixtures and poles. This is $66,000 will get us new poles and fixtures, and they're gonna be much more decorative than what we have now. Probably not as decorative as maybe a downtown Edmond or something like that. But these are going to be nice, black, beautiful fixtures, and most importantly, they are going to do the lines underground. So we won't have the stringing effect going on in our downtown district. We are also carrying forward, but it has to be budgeted in this year, the community development block grant match that we're doing on the east side of town. That is one that we had a violation with the Department of Environmental Quality on.
West side?
Excuse me, west side, yes, west side, thank you. Near the cemetery area, and we got a $350,000 grant, and we're matching it with the 325, so that comes out of our pocket. So, the council recognizes the enjoyment that the citizens get out of Snowman Wonderland. We can tell you from the staff that the lines underneath the ground, even though they were direct buried cable, those cables are severely corroded. And oftentimes it appears, when you dig it up, that maybe there have been lightning strikes and things that have assisted in that. Our intention is to put new line in conduit, and so we've allocated $40,000 to rewire the walking trail lights and get it ready for the Snowman Wonderland. Let's go to airport. So the airport, we've allocated $20,000 to buy Jet A fuel truck. That is part of the agreement that we entered into with our new fixed base operator at the airport. We do have aircraft that land there that need jet fuel and are forced, even if they drop off passengers here, they're forced to go elsewhere to fill up and come back. And it's just a severe inconvenience, and this is going to solve that. So we also have $75,000 going into the budget for the FAA grant match. And right now, the federal government, have been just really, really good to us in terms of giving us 100% grants and doing new things like taxiways and tearing down hangars and building new hangars. This is really beginning to look really special, especially when you consider a town our size. This is going to look extremely good for us. Moving on to the lake, we're buying a new mower for the lake. I think he's earned it out there. As you mentioned, that place looks excellent, and I'm really proud of the work that Rob has done. Code enforcement, I've already mentioned that we're allocating $140,000 into that. That's coming out of your discretionary pot. Reynolds Wellness Center, I mentioned that we're putting $40,000 back in case they run over. We are dipping our toes into cybersecurity. $2,000 doesn't go a long way, but it looks like that's a coming issue, or frankly, it's already here. And it's time for us to pay more and better attention. I don't know that 2,000 is going to get us where we want least it's a start. So the strongest point that the council in all the work sessions has put in this year will be the streets. We're going to do a lot of street work. We're going to start off with Lincoln Street repairs for $221,000. Roosevelt Street is going to get a facelift at $113,000. McKinley and Lee Street, both approximately $60,000. College Street is going to get $37,000. So that is it on my sheet, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that there are some unallocated funds in the ARPA money. And the council has kind of left open the idea that we may participate, depending on how much grant money might be out there for the installation of the fiber optic system. So we're going to be holding back about $700,000 of the ARPA money to potentially do that if we can find other grant sources to layer on top of that. And I think that's it. I'll be glad to talk about any of those specific items, or if you want to get into departments, we can go that way.
I'll look to the council for their choices. You want to dig deeper, or are you good with it? Okay, you guys, okay?
Just want to ask a question about, states allocated $42 million for increasing broadband in rural. Have you seen any piece of legislation on that?
Yes, sir. There are, it's a big effort, and I'm talking in terms of federal, state. I mean, it is, they are pushing hard to get everyone wired. And there are many sources out there, and that's why I think this is a great investment to get fiber optics to the home. And we're excited that that's an opportunity for us. Obviously, it would be another utility. I mean, it's going to be a source of revenue, and we feel strongly, based upon the studies that we've gotten, that we're going to be much more competitive than just about anyone. So I think I've mentioned to you before that the study indicates that if we can get 30% of the market, that we're going to be able to cash flow relatively easy at the cost under what others are charging. So I think it is a good investment. Now, one of the threats, of course, I know I'm getting off of what you're asking, but one of the threats, of course, would be the Starlink system, the Elon Musk satellite deal. But the early reviews that I have read indicate that, yes, it's great for a short time, and then it becomes a little cumbersome. And certainly if you're going to school, or if you're an online student and it happens to cloud up, you're out of luck. And so I think for this community, we need something much more dependable than that. I hope I answered your question.
I just wondered if you'd seen any part of the legislation about how
Yes.
they're going to appropriate it.
Well, yes, that is part of the ARPA money. The 1.2 million is projected to come to Seminole.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question, if I'm allowed to
Please.
speak.
Mhm.
I just want to ask you on the Snowman Wonderland.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say that amount was?
We've
Was
got-
where I'm looking under the tabs and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it's under community development.
Community, under the departments? Is that correct?
The tab, if you're looking at the,
Uh-huh.
yes, is CIP,
Oh, CIP.
right,
Okay.
okay, and then under about the third one down is community development.
Okay. Okay, I see it.
See it now?
Okay, so line replacement was 40 and then maintenance was 5.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's two different, okay, that's what I wanted to be clear. And then also want to thank you for adding on College Street when we first started talking about this, there were no streets in Ward 1, so I want to thank you for adding that in there.
Absolutely.
Those were due last year, but we couldn't do them, so it's about
No.
time.
The only thing missing is a swimming
I
pool.
lived on Roosevelt.
Yeah, we need a
It was
swimming
bad.
pool. I agree.
All
I'm
right.
sorry, I missed
I was
that.
being, I said the
Swimming
only,
pool.
yeah.
Oh,
I said the
yeah.
only thing missing is the swimming pool. Someday.
Someday.
Any other questions? All right, if not, we will close the public hearing on the budget. With that, we'll move on to approvals and acceptances. Bids, item 1. Consideration and possible action to approve the sole bid of $100 for a surplus parcel of land located at 148 North Main, next to Kevin Hardiman, owner of the Simply Stylin' Barber Shop, which is located next to the parcel.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Where does this stuff get listed? Where do these properties get listed if they're for sale?
Yeah, we usually declare it surplus and then advertise for it, and that was done a while back.
Oh, okay. I just don't remember that. I
No,
just make
that,
sure.
we've never had any takers, frankly.
Because you have to keep it up.
Exactly. If we find some private entity that's willing to do it, you better believe it.
Do we have any others that are currently still in surplus that have not been purchased?
I'm sure I've probably got a couple. Some of them are being retained by the Urban Renewal Authority. Specifically, Urban Renewal has the Old Parks Drug site and the site next to Anna's. Those are under Urban Renewal control, but as far as the city, no. I
Okay.
think Economic Development Council owns a big lot south of the producer, between Arrow Pump and the producer,
that one.
but that's all asphalt,
Yeah.
so there's no real maintenance issue on that.
So I have one more question. Does he have plans to do something with it? Or is it just, he just wants to buy it maybe for expansion or something, a new building?
No, you probably know more than I do. He has spoken to me, and he wants to upgrade it significantly, have some tables out there.
Oh, okay.
And be able to picnic, et cetera, so.
Motion to approve.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 1A, consideration and possible action to approve the bid proposal from the First United Bank with participation from Bank First and Security State Bank for a bridge loan for engineering fees for the proposed new wastewater treatment plant. Based on evaluation of loan terms, staff is recommending the First United proposal as being in the best interest of the city.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you gonna have discussion on this?
Yeah, so we did receive 2 bids. Bank of the West submitted a bid, and they were very competitive. They came in and bid a floating rate at 2.5 above LIBOR. So, I think you're probably gonna end up, I don't know what today, Mark, help me, but I think you're probably looking at maybe 2.6 or 2.7 interest rate, and that is for an 18-month deal, and they wanted it at a floating rate, but of significant consequences, they want us to pledge the revenue stream from the sewer and water. Well, it's hard for us to do that because we've pledged once already, and this becomes kind of a double pledge, and it's very difficult for us to get credit ratings, especially going into what we're going to need to borrow for a sewer plant, if we've got all of our revenue streams pledged out. So I was really relieved when we received the package from our other banks. They are jointly offering to participate in this, and they are offering a fixed rate at 3.5%. 3.25, which is slightly higher, but it is a fixed rate for 24 months, and it is a line of credit, as is the other. So if we don't borrow the whole thing, which we don't expect to, it will be a line of credit that we draw against and pay 3.25% fixed. And most importantly, they have agreed that they are not going to require any collateral for a $1.7 million project. That is community banking. So from a staff's perspective, that was a big deal, and that's why we're recommending that we go with the joint bank program.
You know what default is, don't you? Manager's head.
I don't know if we want to go there.
That was the best
So,
deal, really.
Yeah, so just for the edification of everyone, this loan that we're entering into is a loan to be able to pay our engineering firm up to $1.7 million to engineer a new sewer plant. Our new sewer plant our old sewer plant is really showing signs of not doing well, to put it mildly. So we are going to have to go, and in essence, Department of Environmental Quality has told us we're either going to have to do a significant rebuild, or we're going to need to build a new sewer plant. So this engineering fee and the contract we'll enter into is about $1.7 million, but we only expect to have to draw about $800,000 before we get a loan grant from the USDA. And so the USDA, we've already got our consultant on board, and Sharon and I have been working with them, and everything looks great. We've got everything is up to snuff, and we would expect sometime, maybe as early as December, January, that we would get a soft commitment from them, at which time they will take out the loan that we have with our community banks. And so that's the plan on repayment, is that USDA will pay back the engineering fees through that loan grant.
So
I
we
have a question.
Please.
So you'll have to explain this to me. I'm not in finance. So when it says bid proposal with participation, but then it looks like we're singling out one. So can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I think you're saying that First United made a note at the end of it. They're the ones that submitted the package on behalf of all three banks. But they made a note at the end that should any of the other two banks not choose to participate in the loan, that they would take on whatever is left.
Okay.
So at the end, First United could end up with 100%, but I think verbally, there's already been agreement from Bank First and Security State that they want to take a third of whatever is left, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under resolutions, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2021-07, a resolution adopting the fiscal year or FY 2021-2022 consolidated budget for the city of Seminole and its associated authorities and funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under ordinance, item 3, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1256, an ordinance amending fees for grave sites, grave openings, and associated fees at Maple Grove Cemetery.
Mayor, could I defer to Bryant while I get a
course.
drink real quick? Mr. Baker, do you mind? Excuse me.
You can use this microphone if you'd like.
As you guys can see in the packet, the last time that we have done any changes to our fees was approximately 2004. This was brought up by our Parks Board, which the cemetery is part of that. This is something that they have been working on for approximately the last 3 or 4 months. We went out and we looked at different rates, Rest Haven, other cemeteries around us. We felt like we needed to raise our rates. Our rates are either equal to or just a hair underneath what other cemeteries around us are charging. So we are not out of the ballpark. We are actually probably just a little bit low or a little bit below them. We did not want to deter our citizens from Maple Grove Cemetery. So that's the reason why we kind of stayed. Some of the fees you'll see in there, we may be $25 or $50 lower than others, but this was agreed on unanimously by the Parks Board, so we wanted to bring it to you guys, see if we could get this passed on.
I know you haven't been over that group for too long, but do you know how long it has been since we had modified our rates?
2004,
Thanks.
so it's been a while. Any other questions?
Thank you.
By the way, thanks for putting the sign up, whoever did that. Now people know where to go to get in.
Backside.
So we have an
Move approval.
second. Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under current business, consideration and possible action to approve closing Second Street from Broadway to Osage on June 18th, 2021 for a library fundraising event approved at a special permit board meeting held on June 1st.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 5, consideration and possible action to approve closing Second Street from Broadway to Osage on June 19th, 2021 for a food truck event approved at a special permit board meeting held on June 1st.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item 6, consideration and possible action to authorize the city manager to send a letter terminating the city's agreement with the Seminole Housing Authority related to the facility and operation of the senior center located at 322 North 4th Street.
Mayor, can I ask one question? I'm sorry, it relates to the last thing Trace pointed out. Was that food truck thing supposed to go along with the library?
On the 18th.
No.
Okay.
Amanda,
Okay.
she's doing a separate one, right?
Oh, it's okay, I just,
He's good. They just asked that
it's
question.
okay, it was just they were different dates and we want to make sure it wasn't supposed to be the same
No,
day.
it's the day after. I think we're gonna leave the
Okay.
barricades up.
I- I think there is a food truck at the library one too,
There is.
Okay,
so that may be your confusion.
We're doing it,
okay.
you're doing your food truck deal, you're closing the street the day after the library, right?
We're not closing the streets. I've gotten permission from the permit board to use, but some of the vacant lots and openings, Kevin's gave me permission. I still gotta talk to the producer, but they let us use last one, so it should be okay. But we plan to, all the artwork is gonna be inside businesses. The barbecue is gonna be private, just little places they can park in the parking spots. There should be no reason to close the streets. That's That's exotic meds. Yeah, I have nothing to do with that.
So they're different
Okay.
events. Okay.
Two different.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay, no, we're good. Sorry.
Okay, back to item 6. Do I need to read it again? Am I good?
You're good.
I just want some clarification.
Okay, please.
Can we ask to kind of expand on this a little bit?
Yep, Sharon Emmett's gonna join us. Sharon?
Sharon, now it's your turn.
She just said exotic meds. That seems, exotic. Tell us about exotic meds. I I know I was at the permit board, but I don't remember.
I thought we were talking about.
Is
no,
having a.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Basically,
That,
it's
that,
open house.
that's not what we're on. We're on item 6. Consideration and possible action to authorize the city manager to send a letter terminating the city's agreement.
No, we thought there
They
was
were
a
good.
typo, but we're good, we're good. We think
Okay.
we figured it
Okay,
out,
my
so
apologies.
that's okay.
All right, so now we're on to the housing authority?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, got it. They wanted in-depth intel on that exotic meds, and I haven't. All right. So, let's talk about the housing authority. Randy Thomason came and visited with me, at least twice now, and to be honest, I'm not real clear exactly why he's wanting what he's wanting, except that you'll recall that Kay Magruder has passed, and she was our director down at the senior center for a long, long time. And frankly, we can't find anybody that can do anything close to what she can do on a part-time basis like she did. Randy has suggested that we just turn the building back to them. They built it, it was their money, and that we should turn the building back to them, and then they would begin to pay Pilot. Pilot stands for taxes in lieu of something. Yeah, ad valorem taxes, and then they would begin to pay us ad valorem, or taxes in lieu of ad valorem. Apparently, they've got extra money to be able to do some of the upkeep and the renovation of the building, so I said, you bet, what do you need from us? He said, well, I need a letter saying that you guys are terminating the agreement. Okay, so I drafted it, that's what's in your packet.
Okay. Anybody else?
Any other
I
questions?
just didn't know what it meant. That's just clarification.
So the senior center is, this is what they want, correct?
Yes, my understanding is there's no activity in there now.
Okay.
Now, we're not talking about the Heritage House. We actually had two. For as long as I've been here, we've had the Heritage House that does most of the meals and operations. And then we had another one around the Housing Authority that centered, tried to serve a lot of the Housing Authority members. And my understanding, unless Jay knows different, I don't think there's much, if any, activity in the building now. I think at best, we're using it for a voting site.
Just right back here, behind us.
Move approval.
Second?
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin,
Yes?
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Trace Connor,
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now elections and appointments, and I have no names on my sheet. And so that probably means no one else does either. So I have it on my phone. So,
That's right. Is it this it?
all right, so consideration and possible action to approve the attached list, which you don't have, of mayoral board appointments. It is was in your packet when it was originally sent.
It was in your email,
So if
yeah.
you're,
It's in the
so
email.
if you're on it,
It's actually part of the agenda.
yeah.
You were supposed to memorize these as
Well, I failed that. So Seminole Urban Renewal Authority. So I will give the names and we'll have to vote on each name. Seminole Urban Renewal Authority, Gilbert Reese. He replaces Michelle Sneed, who resigned, and his term will expire July 2022. Claudia Willis, I'll give all the names. Claudia Willis, term 2021 to 2024, and Rick Geist, term 2021 to 2024. So Gilbert Reese.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And we need individual roll calls? Okay, roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree,
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Eddie Foreman,
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Claudia Willis.
Motion approved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Rick Geist. His, Rick Geist.
Second.
How about if you just go ahead and take roll after they second it? That way
Okay.
we'll save some breath
Good
there.
with that. You ready?
Mhm.
Okay. Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Board of Adjustments, Gary Adams, term 2021 to 2024, and Michelle Downey, term 2021 to 2024. They both are currently serving on the Board of Adjustments. Gary Adams?
Move approval.
Second.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Michelle Downey.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Planning Commission, David Wilson, term 2021 to 2024, and Jenny Morgan, term 2021 to 2024. David Wilson.
Second?
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Jenny Morgan.
Motion to approve?
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Lake Development Board, Commission, Stephanie Lambert, term 2021 to 2024, and Neil Craig, term 2021 to 2024. Stephanie Lambert.
Move to approve.
Second?
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Neil Craig.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Park Board, Donna Quinalty, term 2021 to 2024, and Matt Gates, term 2021 to 2024. They are both currently serving as members. Donna Quinalty.
Move to approve.
Second.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Matt Gates.
Move to approve.
Second.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Airport Advisory Committee, Mike Hackney, term 2021 to 2024. Mike is currently serving. And then Tim Campbell, term 2021 to 2024. He would replace Zach Taylor, who is currently on the management team of Taylor Aviation for our FBO at the airport. So Tim Campbell would be replacing him. Tim Campbell has a flight service out at the airport, so he has activity there, and so he has an interest. All right, Mike Hackney.
Move to approve.
Second.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Tim Campbell.
Motion approved.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Corey Crabtree.
Yes.
Trace Connor.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Eddie Foreman.
Yes.
Dana Miller.
Yes.
Okay, that's it on the list. I think that's the most I've ever had, seems like.
Well, and
Motion covered.
I just like to add on all these people that, you know, they do a lot of work for us, and the things that they do appear on our consent agenda, and it saves a lot of time, and I just want to thank them. These are all, you know, volunteer positions similar to what we do, but they make our job a lot easier up here.
All right,
Second.
we have reports, city manager.
Okay, I'm not gonna spend a tremendous amount of time on the fire tax since the mayor kind of brushed over to me, but it's a big deal. When we lose $86,000 that per year that used to buy ambulances, it's a big deal. It's a problem. And I probably need to note that we don't just cover the city of Seminole. We cover from Wolf Hill and Bow Legs to New Lima to most of Strother, all the way past Sportsman Lake to the county line, part of Maud. It's just, we run so many miles and so many runs on county roads, and what I'm talking about is the difference between, correct me, Fielding, but you're talking about 3,200 runs per year versus 414 for Kanawha. It's to the point where Kanawha has to contract out of Ada for ambulance service. They often, is that an exaggeration? Sometimes, yeah, okay, so 3 times this week, we have had to cover Kanawha because Ada doesn't have the staff to come to Kanawha. And yet, the county commissioners have taken it upon themselves to send a proposal to the voters that would cut Seminole $86,000 per year. So over a 5-year period, roughly 3 ambulances will not be purchased. And there's no way to justify it. I just can't see how we're going to add those numbers up and still be able to do what we need to do for our community, plus all those others that we look out for. And I'm including Wewoka in that. There are numerous times where we loan Wewoka one of our standby ambulances to be able to run their system. But on top of that, we, Seminole, are the only service that transports from our hospital to Oklahoma City. If you need to go to Oklahoma Heart or Baptist or any of them, Mercy, you're riding in a Seminole ambulance. And to say, well, you know what, you guys can afford it. No, that's not the way that you do business. You know, it was thrown out at a commissioners meeting that hey, Kanawha's already got a $20 tax or $20 fee on their water bill, and they're paying too much already. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, I wish better for them. I like the people of Kanawha, but our job is to take care of the people of Seminole and of the fire district that we take care of. And this is going to take a big chunk that we're not going to be able to provide the level of service, especially in the outer areas that we were able to do before. Just wanted to point that out. I think everybody probably has questions about why is Main Street closed. We had a pretty big problem with our drainage system underneath Main. Baker and his crew have done a really good job of identifying, after chasing about 4 different problems to ground. But we expect within the next, probably next 7 to 10 days, we'll have that all repaired, and at least we'll be driving over it. It may take us a little while to get it compacted, but we'll be ready to go on that. Congratulations to the whole team that brought the new softball tournament back to Seminole. If you drove by the complex this weekend, you saw about 32 different teams. I saw tags from everywhere out of state. It was amazing. So good tourism dollars. Great job. I'm going to let Brad talk a little bit about the cannabis and studying that we've done. I do want to mention that Roger Parks was a friend of mine. He was a kind-hearted and gentle soul, and it's gratifying to me to see that kind of legacy continue, and what a great cause he's supporting there. And I appreciate the boys and Pam for everything they've done there. Squeeze the Day, wow. I did not expect that kind of participation or the level of excitement that generated. Bree did a great job of promoting it and getting people involved, and it was a lot of fun for everyone. Great work. the Epic Group, the former Enviro, now Saffron Group, put on a fantastic car show. I went out there expecting a car show. It was more than a car show. If you missed it, make sure you catch it next year. I've heard rumors that they're going to go right into planning the next one. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Few aircraft were there, a bouncy house for me. It was great. So I probably need to mention that we have been notified by CenterPoint Gas that they want to extend the franchise. And the way we do that in Seminole, anytime a franchise agreement like this is asked for, we have to send it to the voters. So probably next month you will see it come to the city council, and you guys will need to put it on a ballot of some sort. And we'll have to go vote for CenterPoint to extend the franchise agreement. And I'll be glad to answer any questions offline if you have questions about that. Downtown, man, they're full of energy. Everybody downtown is juiced, and we're doing everything as a city staff to support that. We love seeing clean streets and sidewalks and flowers and flower beds. We're pumped as well. So we follow their energy, and we're gonna do everything we can to help that go. That's all I have.
Can I ask a question? Steve, is the fire tax not just a vote on a reallocation, but also an extension of an existing tax? So if it doesn't pass, they'll have to come back?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an extension of a sales tax that's in place, and it's broken into three parts this time. There'll be one for 911. One section will be a part of the $0.25 goes to 911. A part of the $0.25 goes to rural fire departments, and that was part of our cut, went to rural fire departments, and then the 3 ambulance systems is another one. So the history on this, do you mind if I expand a little bit?
No.
Okay, so the history on this is in 2005, we had the great wildfire of all wildfires, you may remember. And it ate, I can't remember, help me, 117 homes or something to that effect. And just a whole lot of acres. And it was pretty evident that all the borrowed equipment that we had all received from the Department of Defense through the years was not adequate. So the state stepped in, they gave each rural fire department an extra $14,000 or so. And that's been increased through the years. And then they came to us and said, hey, we don't want to be put in that position again. Would you guys be willing to do a 5-year tax and give us an extra $12,000 or $13,000 each? So Sasakwa, Strother, Cromwell, others that needed a little help, they said, we're going to do a 5-year deal. So we did. And we agreed, and we helped pass it. Seminole specifically helped pass it. So when it came back to us that, so one of the fire chiefs is driving an Escalade, and one of the departments bought recliners and a big screen TV with that money, we were not happy. And then they went back and said, okay, if you're upset, talking to Seminole, if you're upset, we'll put an oversight board if you'll pass it for 5 more years. And this time, we won't have any of that. We'll actually put it into the things that need to happen to fight fires. Okay, but not just for rural fire. We're going to do something for police departments and ambulances, and that's when it began to split into different departments. At that point, right after that, so they came back for a 3rd renewal, and the 3rd renewal, they had significant deficiencies in funding for 911. And the reason is because 911 depends upon the landlines being taxed. So if you have a landline, you pay 50 cents a month, something like that, some fee, but everybody quit using landlines, started using cell phones, and the FCC will not allow us to put on a fee to support 911 onto cell phones. So there was a deficiency, and we said, all right, in this third go, we want to make sure that 911 is taken care of, but at the same time, we want ambulances, and we will give a little bit more to the rural fire departments. In the fourth go, this one, they came back and said, we'll pass it without you. We're gonna give the rural fire a bunch more money, we're gonna cut Seminole, and we're gonna give a lot of money to Kanawha and Wewoka. Wow, okay. That's where we're at. Did that answer your question?
You bet.
Thank you.
Brad Carter?
So I probably should have spoken up when Dane asked about the medical marijuana issue. I haven't asked him to take one of each of these and pass them down. That's one off top.
Okay.
So, since the last council meeting, we were obviously directed to look into, concerns that we had on, you had on the, medical marijuana, how we're gonna deal with it, golf course issues, et cetera. Let me say that, Chris is exactly right with what he decided. Several years ago, the council, when we were dealing with 3.2 low point beer, basically, there was a prohibition of drinking in public that was consistent with most towns or cities in the state. What the council did is we basically wanted each event coordinator or organization to come to the council and ask for permission, make sure the council authorized it, the necessary things were in place to, to obviously protect the public, make sure that minors didn't have access to alcohol and all that. Amy, she stepped out, but for the chamber, that's why she comes here every year and asks to, for the permission from the council to serve or make alcohol allowable at certain events. She'll always tell you, we're gonna do it here, we're gonna do it this way, we're gonna have a roped off area, we're gonna have a security guard, whatever it may be. So the council, that all stems from the council's action from that particular time. At the same time, and Brent,
Could you mind going to
Yes.
the microphone? People can't hear
Yes.
that are watching.
So, at the same time, the golf course issue came up, and what are we gonna do about the golf course? And the council decided, what we'll do is, we lease that golf course, we privatize that golf course. They're responsible for enforcing the rules at the golf course. And the council recognized at the time, as I recall, and somebody will probably have to correct me if I'm misstating anything, but the council decided, hey, that's just what golfers do. They drink beer. So, we will allow that, there'll be no alcohol on any public property in Seminole. With the exception of the golf course, you manage it, golf, people, you're the ones that are responsible, you're the ones that are liable, you're the ones carrying the insurance on it, you're gonna indemnify the city if there's an issue, and that's what we did, as I recall. Now, that was either by ordinance or resolution, and that may have been 15 years ago. And I'm still looking for that, so I'll find it and I'll circulate it when we get a hold of it.
Can I add one more thing to
Yes.
that? We also did that because they do lease the golf course, and it was another way for them to make money to help them fund themselves. And I don't know if anybody recalls, but prior to the group that manages it now taking over, our golf course had gotten in pretty sad shape. We were risking losing greens, and which even then, I can't remember what they said back then, but it was gonna be rather significant if we had to replace those greens. Turns out we didn't have to do that. These people came in and took over and have done a great job, and we've really tried to help them because we don't wanna take responsibility of that golf course back ourselves because, you know, it's one of those deals where a private entity is doing much better managing it than we ever could.
That's right, and Steve, I think, he stepped out, but Steve, I think, told us back then, just to replace a green was $30,000,
More than that.
$35,000,
It was
$50,000, something just.
$50,000.
Crazy amount of money, so we cannot afford it. No way we could do it, and literally, we had, I think that hole number 3, about getting off on a tangent, that thing was bad, ate up with that.
We had 4 of them one time.
It was horrible. So anyway, you're exactly right, and to answer to that inquiry from last month, that's kind of where all that came from, and we'll put our hands on that. It's just going back and looking for the resolutions that were passed at that time. So fast forward to recently, where in the recent history, now we don't have 3.2 beer now. We're 6 point or whatever, regular point, whatever we call it. So it's now managed by the Able Commission. So the Able Commission is who you deal with. You just get a permit here, and you go down the road. They're the ones that actually regulate alcohol in that beer now. So really, this issue is since last month. I think maybe Sharon mentioned it a while back when we had our when the 6 point beer came on board. We revamped our ordinance. We had to retract a bunch of it, but at the same time, we probably are going to have to do some modifications to make sure that we catch up with some of the things where that affects it in the rest of our code. And this is just one of those things that came up. So we probably need to look at that particular issue and how you want to deal with it. What I've handed you since, I think everybody's got a copy. The day before our last meeting in May, the governor signed a bill that actually amended the statute, medical marijuana statute, and clarified a lot of language. It was presented by the Oklahoma Municipal League. It was in coordination with a lot of the proponents of 788, I understand. But one of the things that it did, it protected the rights of the licensee to make sure that, you couldn't discriminate against those people that have that particular medical marijuana card and use it for the purposes that they do, and it outlines some rights. At the same time, if you'll look at that first document you hand out, you'll look, there's kind of marked it there, there's just one paragraph that I wanted to point out to you that was kind of a key takeaway. That basically clarified the language that it's not just for smokable marijuana, it was for e-cigarettes and vaping as well. They wanted to make sure, apparently from what I was told, they wanted to make sure, the legislature needed to make sure that language was clarified because it was causing some confusion in other communities and across the state. So that's just really the key takeaway that I've provided you there. That does not, believe it or not, that becomes effective November the 1st. So it's not effective right now. So I just want to make that clear. I talked to the Assistant General Counsel for the Oklahoma Municipal League. He's the expert on everything that's going on. They monitor all the ordinances across the state. They're working with communities on how to deal with a lot of the issues. Most of this stuff is new, as we know, and it is controversial, very. In fact, I included an article from the Muskogee Phoenix there, just a one-page deal. It was very controversial there, but I put that there because they did provide a mechanism where this could be utilized. We talked about Muskogee, and you wanted me to look at their ordinance. You have a copy in front of you, the Broken Arrow, the McLeod, and the Muskogee ordinances. The one thing that's consistent in all of these ordinances, in just about every one of them that I've been able to run across, the noxious odors. There's always a provision about noxious odors, and that seems to be the one thing that every community puts in there, basically from a public business standpoint. and provides mechanisms relief to other citizens that are offended or aggrieved by that. So that's one of the things that you might, we're gonna have to take into consideration. I think we may even have that in our proposed, I don't even know if we got that in there, I have to look and see, I think we do. But almost every one of them have it, even Muskogee's. The one thing that Muskogee did, there was it was a back and forth. There were some pros, there was some, some opposition. And one of the issues that came up that seems to be consistent with some of the other communities is that, what do we do? Do we designate certain areas for medical marijuana users to use? And that seems to be something that is happening. Muskogee, the city council said, okay, we're gonna do it. We're not having it in inside buildings, they said. We're gonna do it. They own several outdoor venues. They will allow that for special events. However, they have designated their parks board to come up with rules on how it is to be used and administered, or that particular ordinance, how it's going to be enforced, and some guidelines. And that's how they're doing it, from what I understand. So I wanted the council to know that, we've staffed this, we staffed it multiple times. Most of this that's coming in, we're still trying to get our arms around it. And we're not gonna have a perfect product, I know, but we're moving in the right direction. And I think that when we identify the issues that we need to really kind of grasp and come up with a plan, that's gonna be something that would be productive, and we can sit down and come up with something for your consideration, whatever that may be, whether you decide to do it or don't. But it's gonna take some more time, and we'll get, with the law changing November 1st, we know that marijuana is now, that was one of the things that was clarified, is that the tobacco, the public, smoking in public includes marijuana as well as tobacco. So that is, a part of it. That was one thing that they wanted to make sure that it was, clarified. So basically, in a nutshell, we've got it. Mr. Mayor, I'll work with Steve. I've got some more material that they owe me. I'll get it in, brief you and, the department heads, however you want to do it, and then you can decide how you want to proceed and resolve it in minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Is the golf course still considered a public space?
Yes,
It is.
yes.
And as for the alcohol, that's for them to sell it, correct?
I don't
Not
think
just to be
They
brought
don't
on.
sell it
sell
anymore.
it.
No.
They don't sell it?
You can
That's
bring
only
your
for-
own and keep it on your
Okay.
card. You can't share it, you can't do anything.
Gotcha.
And that was the,
No, you're right,
I'm talking
you're
out of
right.
turn. Mayor Mavs, I know that was the problem, and it was because, the one cannabis event they had out there, and I'm going by people that were out there, they said that they were handing out some edibles. They had a bong out there and was sharing it with people, had it in a golf cart. They wasn't asking for, you have a medical card? Okay, here. They were just kind of handing them out, and that's what they were afraid of. It wasn't the fact that it was cannabis or whatever, it was the fact that there was nobody really there policing it. And I know if I had a pocket full of hydrocodone, I couldn't go around and hand it to everybody. It's a prescription for you, and it's not shareable. And I think that was the main concern with what happened this last year. And I think it's a fact that it was just kind of came upon them, and there was no guidelines or anything. And I think that's kind of why it ended up the way it did this year. But it was nothing negative towards medical marijuana. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
It's interesting, I hadn't heard that before.
Mayor, I have a question about that, yeah. So I want to clarify, so when you say, they were afraid, who's they?
Huh?
Who's they?
Managers of the golf course.
The managers of the golf course. So
Correct.
they're the ones who decided to say no to this year's cannabis event.
They run the golf course.
So it was no city employees, it was no city
Correct.
elected officials who said no to it, it was the golf course who said no.
Yeah, and they looked at the insurance. They couldn't find anybody really to underwrite it, from what I understand. And that was just a conversation that I had with the people that were renting it. And I'm sure they'd be glad to meet with you and talk to you about it or whatever.
Yeah, most insurance companies won't. Once Oklahoma passed, they added on that exclusion. Now, you can buy
Mhm.
specific policies for specific events, but you would have to go outside of the normal policy. And something else I would alert people on is someone, if they're gonna get those policies, which if we do a permit process, whatever that is, they need to add the city of Seminole as what's called an additional insured. So if something happens and someone says, no, I'm suing the city for this event, you flip that right back around and call it right back in on that policy, because technically you're just as a named insured on that policy is how that would work. So that's something we have to watch for whenever that comes about. But you can't buy them, and I'm not gonna tell you they're not expensive. Of course, with it being new, I haven't even run one to tell you. I am sure that it would depend on the number of people that were at the events and if there were people there actually selling or something like that. I don't know. But I've never run one, so I can't tell you that. I can tell you for a wedding, it's really cheap, but I don't know about a marijuana event. I don't know. So, but you can buy them. There are companies that will do that. They have to.
Yeah, I read
So,
that.
So I just wanted to make one other comment on that. I pulled the lease agreement to make sure, just to verify that you had the accurate information. They are required to provide the insurance, and they are vested with the authority for those events, you know, to promote those events. And they're, you know, they do several tournaments a year. I mean, probably more than we can count, but, you know, they are ultimately responsible for it.
And they also have to abide by the current ordinances that are in place. So if there's a no smoking ordinance in place, that's where they get caught, right? Is that true?
Yeah, and that brings up a good point, you know, because we hear the other side, well, smoking's not supposed to be, you know, done in public places, it's done all the time. You know, is it enforced? No, not most places. I mean, we've got state law says you can't do it, you know, so it kind of just depends on where you're at, who's there, and who complains, and that type of thing. So, I mean, we can't, you know, there's no excuses for that. It's just, that's just the way it is. We need to come up with a policy, and we need to, in my opinion, we either need to renew or revise or reaffirm our policy for the record, so that there's no confusion with regard to probably alcohol and anything like this. And that would be my recommendation. I think that we can do fairly easily as far as the alcohol issue, but, I mean, these laws are pretty standard, you know, across the state as far as smoking in public or on public property and drinking on public property.
I think it's pretty important that we don't bash him either, because he's doing what he was told, quite honestly, the guy at the golf course. I mean, he's just doing by what his agreement was, so I don't know if, I mean, I don't.
Even if the golf course management had said they could do it, would that have been legal for them to say they could do it the way our ordinances are?
To do what? Just
I mean, for the,
marijuana?
yeah, for the I mean,
Would he be
so
able-
that's what I'm thinking. They didn't even have the authority to say yes to begin with. So if they had said yes, they
He would have been in
didn't-
violation of his agreement that he signed, right?
No, he wouldn't have been in violation of the agreement, but he would have been in violation of city ordinance.
Well, he certainly would have been in breach of contract, because
That's
he
what I'm
wouldn't have
saying.
insurance
Yeah.
to cover the event in case of a loss. So.
I think the catch there was, and I think I heard it said, I never saw the flyer, so if it's wrong, but it was smoke-friendly, I think was what someone had said. It said, I don't know. And, because if they just want a tournament to raise funds, well, obviously they can do that. But I think that was the catch, maybe, when they said smoke-friendly, that threw everybody off. You know, I'd say if someone was out there, they don't smoke it. But I think that was probably the big catch, and they could have an event, and, you know, if they didn't promote that, then that would have been,
If
probably
you'll,
wouldn't have raised any red flags.
if you'll remind me, I'll look next week and I'll send some information on how much something like that would cost, just so people would know if you decide to go that way. I mean, it's good information for us too, that maybe how they rate that, how that would work. If you'll remind me of that, there's one company that does really well with that stuff.
Sure.
So it's not in my everyday queue to do, so you're gonna have to remind me, but I've been more than willing to do that, just so someone knows, hey, you're in it for $2,000 for a night if you wanna do something like this, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, just something so people are aware, and then we know we're protected. They know how much it's gonna cost them if they decide to do that. No one's in trouble, everyone's protected, and we can all go along. But just remind me on that.
And I'm trying to find some other ordinances where, besides Muskogee's, so that I can see who else is doing it. So if you know of any, let me know, and we'll try to pull those, and I'll try to send those out to you as well. So we can see, it might be a good idea to get a hold of their rules and regulations from their park board on how they're doing it. So, but we're moving forward, and there's some progress, so.
Good. Well, thank you for doing that. Mayor, can I respond? So I want to be really clear that I'm not bashing anyone.
No, I didn't mean it that way.
What I'm doing is questioning, because I'm new to this and I don't understand the process where a private entity makes a decision that we have to answer for, because the constituents don't know to go to that individual. They know to come to us. And so that's my concern, is where does our responsibility come in? Do we just, just wholly just kind of give that responsibility to the private entity? I don't think that's right, and I don't think that's true. But it seemed that way in this instance, that we weren't consulted at all. So, and then I also, I think conversely, your question about would they have been within their, I guess, within their contract to agree to that cannabis event? Are they within their contract to agree to do the alcohol event that's coming up? So the policy is saying yes to this, no to this, and what I hear you saying is we need to look at the policy for both, including cannabis and alcohol, to update it.
Thank you. Okay, so if I could speak to what I think the heart of your discussion is, does the city have any say? The answer is yes. They need, on any event, on public property, any event held on public property, they need to come to the permit board. And there's a sheet that they fill out, and we are able to ascertain, do they need policing? Do they need crowd control? So in this case, they did that, and we passed a resolution in January that gave the golf course authority to have Boone Day Golf Tournament with liquor sales. Okay, so the council passed the resolution after the permit board had done the review. So to answer your question is, we do see it. It's not something that a private company gets to just say, yep, you guys go on out there Saturday. That's not the way it works. We should, doesn't always happen. Apparently it happened last year that we didn't know about it. But we should have an understanding of what's going to happen on public property.
I agree. I think that goes back to is it public property? Because if it is, then we're responsible at some level. And if it's through the Parks Board, then that's fine.
Permit board.
The permit board. All right, well, thank you.
I think a lot of this was out of habit and routine over the years, and when this particular incident occurred, it really, I mean, it's good. It's really good, because now we can improve it. So we'll get it fixed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session. Consideration and possible action to enter into executive session under Oklahoma Statute 25, Section 307.b.1, discussing the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of a salaried public officer or employee. City Manager Steve Saxon. Motion, do I have a motion?
Yes.
So moved.
So moved,
You
Ernie.
gotta wait outside there.
All those in favor?
You gotta wait
Aye.
outside.
Those opposed?